Thanks again, everyone, for joining. My name is Brandon. I'm the campaign coordinator here at Cool Davis. This is our 2024 Make a Plan Workshop webinar. To begin, we will have one of our home energy experts, Bill Dakin. He will begin with some short intros and then continue from there. Bill?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's workshop. Today, we're going to be talking about how to decarbonize your home. This workshop is brought to you by Cool Davis and the City of Davis with support from our partners and sponsors, including Valley Clean Energy, Electrify My Home, Greiner Home Heating and Cooling, and Frontier Energy. We'd like to remind you that if you have any questions or clarifications that you need, to please put that in the chat box, and we will get to that. We have a Q&A at the end. Our agenda is as follows. We're just doing the introductions here. Then Kristin Heinemeier from Frontier Energy and also a board member of Cool Davis will be going through the Make a Plan basics, talking about how to, the Watt Diet case study from Electrify My Home will be Alex Sloan, and then Danny Fox-Alverson from Greiner will be talking about rebates and tax credits that are available now, followed by Sierra Huffman from Valley Clean Energy, who will talk about the energy advisor service that they have available, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end where we can hopefully address anybody's questions, and then closing remarks. So to get started here, we'd like to do a land acknowledgement. I'd like to ask Rushali Menden, who's also on the Cool Davis Home Energy Task Force, to read this off for us.
Thanks, Bill. We should take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered. For thousands of years, this land has been the home of the Patwin people. Today, there are 3 federally recognized Patwin tribes: Catchell-Dehe, Band of Wintune Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, Klitzel-Dehe, Wintune Nation, and Yocha-Dehe, Wintune Nation. The Patwin people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. It has been cherished and protected as elders have instructed the young through generations. We are honored and grateful to be here today on their traditional lands.
Thank you, Rushali. So, who is Cool Davis? Cool Davis is a community-based nonprofit 501c3. Since 2010, the board, staff, and active community volunteers have engaged thousands of households in Davis and around Yolo County. And we do this through coalition working groups like Cool Cuisine, Davis Electric Vehicle Association, also some of you may know as DEVA, and others. We have also designed education and action campaigns with partners within the community. And these campaigns currently include Ride Cool, which is an EV adoption and active transportation program, the Make a Plan for Your Clean Energy Home, which is what we're talking about today. And soon we will be working on climate-ready neighborhoods. Our mission is to create enduring community resilience through equitable and inclusive strategies that lower greenhouse gas emissions and help our region adapt to a changing climate. So, volunteer and staff teams have delivered home energy advice support to households since 2010. Our goal is to help households and renters remove fossil fuel systems while saving money and making their home more comfortable and healthy. Cool Davis began piloting the Make a Plan program in 2019 to help households replace older systems. We're now scaling up with online workshops and webinars, advising pop-ups, in-person neighborhood workshops, community pop-up advising, where teams plan within neighborhoods to customize and deliver workshop and tour existing homes that may be on the path right now to transforming their homes to decarbonization. So each neighborhood within Davis may have unique strategies that would work. And so we want to focus on neighborhood strategies to kind of pull those ideas together. We also have help desk experts and volunteers that provide advice and referrals to the city, state, and local state report and rebate programs. So today is the online version of this Make a Plan program. And I'd like to start by introducing Kristin Heinemeier, who will be going through the Make a Plan basics. As I said before, she is a don't even know what your title is now, Kristin, but at least one of the senior staff members at Frontier Energy, which was formerly Davis Energy Group here in Davis, for those of you who might be familiar with that company. Has many years of experience working with energy efficiency and energy behavior is one of her passions. She's a board member of Cool Davis, and I'm going to pass it off to her.
All right. Thanks, Bill. So let me see. I'm going to share this screen. Okay. Still seeing my screen? All right. And you can hear me okay?
You're all set.
All right. All right. Thanks. So I've got a lot of material to cover here because this is the idea of making a plan for a clean energy home is a pretty broad one, as you can see from this tree here. There's a lot of things that people can do to make progress towards a clean energy home, and sometimes it's really hard to figure out where to start. So I'm going to be talking today about giving you some ideas on how to approach this whole idea of pursuing a clean energy home, also maybe known as a zero energy home, zero net energy home. So I want to start by acknowledging that we have, Cool Davis has a set of checklists that really help people to start to see some ideas on things that they can do, track the things they've done, mark the things they really want to do. And there's a series of checklists. There's a home energy one, which is going to be very relevant to what we talk about today. But there's also one on transportation, one on consumption, things like water and solid waste. You know, are you recycling, things like that. Also, your diet, a plant-free diet is another great thing that you can do. So I encourage you to check out these checklists, and I will. So we have a set of resources that I'm going to be talking about today, and you know, obviously you're not going to be scrambling writing down all these URLs. So we'll be providing links to some of the resources that I'm talking about today. So there's a bunch of stuff on our website, great resources on our website. We've got a bunch of documents that you can download that will help you figure out what your next step is. And we've got a YouTube channel, Live Cool Davis, where we've got a bunch of really, really cool videos that'll help you get started on things. So you can look forward to getting a list of those. So what is making a plan? So what's the benefit of having a plan? Obviously, you're not going to get where you need to be unless you have a plan to get there. So because this is a broad area, it's useful to really look at all the different things you're going to want to do, figure out when am I going to want to do those? What do I have to do to be ready to do those? So that's what making a plan is all about. You can see Ollie here has his ducks in a row, and you will, by the end of this call and after doing some work, you will have your ducks in a row too. So go check out the Make a Plan Solutions page. One of the great things about making a plan is that you will not get caught with your HVAC down. I know lots of people find that they've got an air conditioner, it's kind of on its last legs, but they think maybe it'll last a bit longer. And then we get the first really hot day of the year and your system's not working. So you call your contractor and say, help. And they'll say, you know what? We've had calls from 1,000 other people, so we can't get to you till next week. And when they do come next week, All they really have is whatever's on the truck, and you're going to be grateful for that. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit, as I tell my kids. So that's what happens if you don't have a plan, if you haven't, taken care of some of these things before they become a crisis. So that's really the motivation behind making a plan. And so the question that you got to ask yourself is, do you feel lucky? You think your system's going to last a bit longer? How confident are you of that? One of the ways to assess whether you think you're going to be lucky is, how old is your system? If it's a pretty new system and it seems to be working okay, then your plan for that will be quite a few years out. But if it's an older system, you might need to start looking at it. So many people don't know how old their system is. So one of the things that Cool Davis offers is we can generate a report of all the permits that your home has ever had. So it'll tell you what kind of permit it was, who the contractor was. Sometimes it's helpful to know who installed this. Maybe you want to call them if something's going wrong with it. So if you complete the survey that we talked about at the beginning, you'll receive a copy of this home report. It's a really helpful thing. Here's a little zoom in version of it. So I encourage you to do that, to fill out that survey, and then get a hold of this report. So you've got your report, you kind of know how old your systems are. Now you want to start thinking about, what do I do? So where do you start? So do some energy sleuthing. This is Chrissy Backman, who's one of our original energy consultants or coordinators for Cool Davis. She's checking out her meter. This is kind of an old school way of looking and checking at your energy use. It can be useful. Some meters now, I'm not sure you even have access to that, but that is one option. Another thing is check out a watt meter from the library, or Cool Davis has watt meters that you can borrow also. And my kids did this. They got a hold of some of these watt meters and they found some really interesting things. My youngest looked at his computer use and he found that he had a really slick gaming system, and the graphics were cranked up all the way, and it was using a ton of energy. And when we had to air condition, and it was always hot in that room, and so he cranked up the thermostat. So he found that just by reducing the performance a little bit on his graphics card, and please don't ask me questions about how to do that, but he cut his energy use considerably. So that watt meter was a really helpful thing. And my other son used that to check in on his roommates, that the energy bills seemed really high, and he went in their rooms and checked out their computers, and some of them have a space heater, and so he could tell them, aha, I want you to change your ways. So it's a really helpful thing, often having that watt meter. So another thing that Chrissy did, maybe a little bit more up to date, is she downloaded a copy of all her energy use. And this is something that anyone can do. If you have a PG&E account, go, I think you click on, my energy use or something like that. And though you'll see something that looks like this green button here. Most people around the country have access to this. It's a really handy way of just really getting quick access. And if you're handy with a spreadsheet, you can graph it and look and see what's going on. And what Chrissy found was every weekend her energy use was high, and she was like, oh my God, I got to do something about this. And she said, you know what? My kids are home on the weekends. They're using their gaming systems. That is the culprit. I am going to tell them to change their ways, and we're going to fix this problem. So so this was her old data, and then this is the date where she started looking at it and found out that there was this weekly problem. So she told her kids, you cannot use your systems on the weekend. We're going to cut that out. But it didn't reduce it by very much. So she had to keep looking and see what it was. And lo and behold, she found it was her laundry. That was laundry day. Sunday is laundry day. And washing machines use a fair amount of energy, but electric dryers use a ton of energy. So one of the things that she did was she started line drying her laundry, and there's a video on line drying laundry that you can check out. You can also, I mean, I know I was pretty much baking my clothes. You know, you don't need to dry them until they're all so hot you can't even touch them. You know, back off a little bit on the drying. Also, I've started line drying some of my laundry. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be out there putting every little sock and every little pair of underwear on a line, but I do take the big heavy things out and I line dry those. And so it's super quick then to dry everything else. So kind of play with it. So you can get a sense of where you're using energy by looking at that data. There's also online resources from PG&E and Valley Clean Energy. You can take a look at those. Valley Clean Energy has some sort of hotlines and advice lines that can help you figure things out. So check those out. Get a home energy audit. Many contractors, HVAC contractors or home performance contractors can provide an audit for you. DOE has a do-it-yourself audit, so check that out. A lot of different ways of getting some information about the energy use in your home. So start looking at the different systems in your home, and Valley Clean Energy does have some great resources that are linked on their website. But start looking at your heating and cooling system, water heating, envelope, lighting appliances, and I'm going to talk about all that. And Cool Davis has a Understanding My Home Energy worksheet that you can download to help you start sort of methodically looking at all of this. So where do you start? You know, now that you know you're looking at what your different end uses that might need attention are, the way we always told people to do it in the past was this sort of inverted pyramid that you start out with behavior, you start out by reducing all your loads, getting things as small as possible, and then you're able to right size your HVAC system, your heating, ventilating, air conditioning system, get that as small as possible. And then once you've got everything as low as possible, then you put PV on your home. And that PV system, rooftop solar will be as small as it can possibly be and least expensive. And that makes all kinds of sense to do it that way. But in the real world, sometimes you'll find out that there's a great deal on solar. That's what happened with me. There was a 0 interest loan that was available. And I said, hey, this is a great time to do solar. I hadn't done some of the other stuff, but I talked to my solar contractor and I said, you know what, I'm planning on replacing my windows pretty soon. So take that into account. My HVAC system will need to be replaced at some point. And so you can kind of anticipate some of these things. So you don't have to necessarily do it in this order, but that's what making a plan is all about. If you've got a plan, you can, if you tell your solar contractor, I'm going to put in an EV charger, electric vehicle charger, and I'm going to put in a heat pump, they're going to have to make it a little bit bigger, even though you haven't installed those yet. So it's however you want to do it to phase these things in, but definitely making a plan will help you make sure things can be as small as possible. So appliances and lighting, always a good place to start. Look at all of the end uses in your home and see which ones you can replace. Replace all your light bulbs with LEDs. There's no reason not to do that right now. LEDs are great. Look at some of your other appliances. Maybe they're not needing a replacement yet, but they could be replaced sometime soon. For example, your cooktop. You see here, Carol Bourne is a former board member, and she's using her induction cooktop, which for those of you who are not familiar with that, any foodie will tell you, you cannot have my natural gas cooktop, out of my cold dead hand. Are you taking that away? But those same foodies have found that an induction cooktop performs just as well as a natural gas cooktop. So it's a great alternative. Anytime you're replacing something, look for an Energy Star label. If it's available, you can be pretty confident it's going to be an energy efficient end use. And if possible, replace your fossil fuel fired appliances with electric ones, like Carol is doing here. I'll talk more about that in a bit. So we've got a video on LED lighting that you could check out. Water heating is a big one. This is another one of those end uses that if it fails, you are out of luck. It's very unpleasant when your water heater goes out and you find out that the one that you really want has got a lead time of a month. You know, you're not going to wait a month. You're just going to take whatever you can get. So consider early replacement on water heating, particularly. And when you do replace it with a heat pump water heater. I'm going to talk about what heat pumps are in a minute, but little spoiler, they're 3 times as efficient as a natural gas end use. So they're a great solution, and they don't use any fossil fuels. So consider replacing with a heat pump. Another thing to consider is if you're like me and you have your water heater it takes forever to get hot water to that back bedroom. I tested it in my house, in my previous house. It took 4 minutes to get hot water. So we would turn on the shower, go make a cup of coffee, come back. We'd finally have hot water for the shower, and that obviously wastes a ton of water. So there's a great technology where you can just recirculate that water, keep it running in a circle while it's heating up, and then you can use it. And they often have a thermostat, so they'll turn off when it hits the right temperature, and you can have a remote control. So when you wake up, you push a button and it starts heating it while you're, going to the bathroom, brushing your teeth or whatever. So it's a really neat technology that you should consider if you have that problem. The envelope of your home is another great place to look at. That's basically the whole shell of your home. It's the roof, or the ceilings, the walls, the floor, any place where air can be leaking in or out, or heat could be leaking in and out. You want to pay attention to that. Sealing air leaks is a great place to start. You can do this by taking an incense stick or something and kind of going around your windows and doors and outlets and seeing if anytime you can see air is going in or out, you know that you're really leaking a lot of energy into the atmosphere. Or you can call a contractor and they'll do something called a blower door test, where they basically pressurize your whole house, and it makes it really easy to see where those leaks are. Wall insulation is one of those things that's really hard to address once your home has been built. There are times, like if you're replacing windows, that might be a good time to remove some of the siding and address the insulation, but it's kind of tough. Attic insulation is something you can address because it's right up there in the attic. Poke your head up there and see what it looks like. You should have a good amount of insulation. It should be pretty well evenly distributed. If possible, you can bury your ductwork to make it even more cozy in your house. But attic insulation is something that's definitely worth paying attention to. And also replacing windows and doors. If you have doors that don't have any insulating value, if they can be real cold or real hot in the summer. In my new house, the sun beats right on my front door, and I can't even touch it sometimes. So I really want to replace that door. Same thing with windows. If you've got single pane windows, it can be kind of a pricey replacement, but it's going to save a lot of energy if you deal with those windows, if you can replace those windows, maybe at the opportune time. Maybe if your kid breaks a window with a baseball, that's a good time to think about replacing your windows. So HVAC systems is the last system that I'm going to cover. And this is a picture of what many people have in their homes. It's called a split system, where air is, there's cool coils in the air handling unit. It's cooling off air. The air is going through these ducts and throughout all the house. Then the hot air goes back into this air handling unit. It's all recycled. Many people aren't aware that you're not getting any fresh air. Like most homes don't really they have enough leaks, so you're not going to suffocate. But a normal air conditioning or heating system does not provide any fresh air. Just be aware of that. So it's all kind of going in a circle around and around, and the heat is accumulating in the air handling unit, in the coils, and then it's being pumped out through the condensing unit, or the compressor kind of pumps all that heat out into the atmosphere. So that's how most systems work. So let's look at some of the components. Ductwork is something that really pays to look at closely. Most ducts really leak a lot. People are just amazed when they find out how much most ducts leak. And it's not that hard to address that. And I like to say it's like driving a Prius with a leaking fuel line. You can be all proud of yourself. You got this great, this great efficient car, but then you're just not getting the fuel economy that you expected. Well, that's because it's all leaking away. It's anytime you're doing any kind of a repair or replacement on your HVAC system, talk to your contractor about addressing the ducts. We had one, actually my pastor had added a room onto his home, and he was going to have to get a whole system to condition that one room. But fortunately, he called a good contractor who looked closely at the ducts and said, you know what, if we fix the ducts in the rest of your house, you've got plenty of capacity. You don't need to add a new system or put in a bigger system. So sometimes just dealing with the ducts can be all you really need. So that's kind of cool. And of course, something you can do at any time, replace your filters. Everybody knows this. Replace your filters as often as is needed. When we have really smoky days, you can temporarily put in a MERV 13 filter that can filter out a lot of the smell of smoke. I find that a MERV 13 is a little bit too constricting for everyday use, so I just put them in there when it's real smoky. But kind of play with it and see what works for you. We've got a video on how to change your filter, how and when to change your filter. And I should probably start with this because this is one of the most important things that people in Davis can do to reduce their energy bills. And this is because we are the luckiest people in the world. We have the delta breezes. We actually, if you look at the difference between the day and the nighttime temperature, that's one of the biggest differences in this region of anywhere in the world, actually. And that's because the cool delta breeze comes through, off the ocean, comes flowing into the valley right about where we are. And even on hot days, we can very reliably count on cool nights. What that means is that if you can bring all that cool air into your house at night and then shut it up, you might be able to coast through the rest of the day without even doing any air conditioning. And you can do that with a whole house fan. This is what this picture is. It sucks air through your house. It pulls it in open windows. You do that at night and then you turn it off in the morning. But you don't even really need a whole house fan. One thing that I do is I open my windows. I put a box fan in my windows to one that's going in, one on the other side that's going out. So I picture this sort of wind tunnel going through my house. And as soon as I wake up in the morning, I close everything off, and it's just a great solution. So it doesn't have to be expensive. We've got a video on how to do that. Look at your thermostat settings. One of the things I really want to tell people is put your fan on auto, not on. Some people think, oh, I want to get fresh air, but remember, you're not getting fresh air with your system. The fan only recirculates it through the house, and you don't want to do that when it's not needed. So have it set on auto. Smart thermostats are great, but you can actually do quite a bit with just a programmable thermostat. This kind of shows the settings that I use. I try to be as aggressive as I can be, but making sure we're comfortable. And on any particular day, I can crank it up a little bit if I need it. But in case I'm not there or not paying attention, I have a pretty aggressive schedule. And in the summer, I try to not do any cooling during the peak period from 4 to 9, and that means I have to do some pre-cooling. And we've got a video on how to do that. Final thing I want to talk about is what is a heat pump. Heat pump is essentially your air conditioner running backwards. We were pumping the heat out of the house. Well, we can do the same thing. We can pump the heat into the house. Just exactly as simple as it sounds. You run your heat pump your air conditioner backwards. And how does that work? It's kind of like, how water, it wants to go from high to low. If you want water that's low to be high, you have to pump it up. You have to take some energy to pump it up there. Same thing with heat. Heat always flows from hot to cold. That's just a law of physics. If you want it to go from cold to hot, you have to pump it, just like with water. So what that means is in the summer, when you want heat to go from your house to the outside, it's not going to do that on its own because it's hot outside. So you have to pump it. And the same thing in the winter. You have to pump the heat if you want to gather the heat from outside and pump it to the inside. And it's hard to believe when it's 0 degrees out, but there is some heat out there. And so a heat pump can just pump it backwards. And it takes 3 times less energy to pump heat than it does to create it. You know, normally with a furnace, you've got something like a toaster here, you know, an electric resistance, or you've got a burner where you're actually burning fossil fuels. So you creating heat takes 3 times more energy than just pumping it. And a heat pump can be just like your air conditioner, a split system, or it could be something called a mini split, where every room can have a different temperature. It's kind of a neat solution. I'm going to go through the rest of these a little bit quickly. So the first thing you want to do is work with a contractor. Find a good contractor that you're comfortable with now, and then you can start making your plan. Shop around, make sure it's someone that you're comfortable with. When it does come time to select a bid, contractors aren't psychic. They can't tell what you want. You're going to have to tell them, I want something really efficient. I want a heat pump, you know, whatever it is. Be sure that they know what you want. And 2 things I want to say that I think are very specific is bigger is not better. If you have a really big system that's constantly turning on and off in order to not overheat or overcool you, that's very inefficient and it's very uncomfortable. You know, half the time you're uncomfortable. So a good contractor will do load calculations and make sure you're getting just the right size. And a good contractor also will get a permit. It's amazing how many contractors don't do that. That's required by law, and in order to do a lot of the things that are required, you really have to have a permit so that the city can be tracking what's going on. We have a working with contractors worksheet and a contractor bid comparison. So check those resources out. Get the best price that you can. Contractors are constantly having sales and special deals where they'll bundle things in different ways. There's tax credits that come and go, rebates that come and go, and look into stacking, which means you can combine a lot of these things. Sometimes you worry, oh, if I take the tax credit, maybe I'm not eligible for that sale or that rebate, but for the most part, you can stack those things. Consider life cycle cost. If there's a sticker shock, you know, things like solar or heat pumps sometimes can be pretty pricey, but they're going to pay for themselves over time for the most part. So consider, you know, it might be more expensive to start, but it's going to save money over time. And so it might still be a really good deal, even if it seems pretty pricey. So before I wrap up, I want to just say a couple of words about electrification, because I know that's a hot topic that a lot of people are thinking about. It basically means replacing combustion appliances with electric ones. Pretty simple. And so look through your house, look for all of the combustion appliances. You know, you've got furnace, water heater, dryer. All 3 of those can be replaced with a heat pump. You're very, very efficient, totally electric end use. Your cooktop, I already talked about. Your car, didn't really mention, but you should certainly consider replacing your, you know, fuel-fired car with a EV, electric vehicle. These end uses can be much more efficient. They don't use fossil fuels. Electricity can be produced without burning fossil fuels. If you want to get off fossil fuels, you have to go electric. There's no way around it. If you're burning a fossil fuel, there's no way to pump that back in the ground. If you want to get off fossil fuels, you have to go electric. And so it's more efficient and it's healthier. Get that combustion out of your house. It's kind of crazy that we have combustion happening in our houses anyway. So we've got a couple of videos and some planning guides to do that. And if you're going all electric, you definitely want to go with renewables. So install rooftop solar. You can opt up with Valley Clean Energy. You click on the opt up button, and for a little bit of a premium price, you can be sure you're getting 100% renewables, and also combine things with batteries. A bit of a spoiler, I want to tell you that your next replacement will probably be electric. Even if you're not planning for it right now, just take my word for it. There's a lot of policy things, including Davis's Climate Action Adaptation Plan, that are leading towards electric. That is the way things are going in the future. And so I'm pretty confident that your next replacement will be electric. So you're going to have to plan for your electrical panel to have enough capacity to put all this. So yet again, making a plan is really, really critical. So wrapping up, good luck on your clean home journey. It is a journey. You're going to be starting off in a panic, and then you're going to watch HGTV and say, oh, this is great. You know, this old house, I'm going to do this. Is going to be awesome. Then you have trouble finding a contractor, and you find one you're happy with, and then it's looking expensive, but then you find rebates. It's constantly up and down, but be confident that you're heading in the right direction. You are on the right path, and talk to other people who are doing the same thing. And you're going to find that we're all in this together, and we can help each other through this. So good luck on that. And I will wrap it up there.
Thanks, Kristin. Next, we're going to have Alex Sloan from Electrify My Home, and he will be talking about the kind of how to optimize your electric panel for electrification, aka the watt type. Alex, take it away.
All right, very good. Share screen and audio check coming through.
Sounds good.
Okay, very good. All right, Kristin, what a great synopsis there. Well done. You really encapsulated all that really well. And so really a critical part of this whole make a plan process is looking at your electrical panel. So that's going to be the subject of my talk today. So, hey everyone, Alex Sloan, fellow Davis resident. I live out near Chestnut Park. Been in and out of Davis since 2007. So proud to call this home. So one of my favorite subjects today, good electrification and electrical panel optimization. Some folks also refer to this as the watt diet, a term popularized by one of our friends, Tom Cabot. And I work for Electrify My Home, a local electrification company. So here's our mission at Electrify My Home. We provide the most efficient, cost-effective electrification solutions, practice good stewardship of the electrical panel, and we also train and influence other contractors to do the same. So the only thing we do with gas is put caps on the lines. We're very focused on providing clean, efficient, and well-designed systems. And we believe so strongly in paying attention to the electrical panel from the start of a journey that it's here in our mission statement. And then we have several training programs throughout the state of California to try to bring other contractors into the know on this whole transition. So kicking it off, importance of the electrical panel. So when we talk about the electrical panel, it's really the brain of electrification, right? As we start to think about moving appliances from gas to electric, and also think about some of the policy shifts in California, like a lot of people don't know, after 2030, as of right now, you won't be able to buy a new gas furnace or gas water heater. So policies can come and go and change, but the direction of the whole state of California seems to be going towards electric. And so we don't want folks to be in a position where you're not able to make that upgrade when the time comes, and you're forced to spend a whole bunch of money on panel infrastructure. So that's why making a plan from the start is exceptionally important. So electrical infrastructure is the brain. Heat pumps are the heart of electrification. We want to make sure the right heat pump is in your house for the right application, right? And do a load calc, all the things that Kristin just mentioned. And also, we don't want to fill our brains with garbage, right? So we don't want to load a whole bunch of circuits into our panels that are unnecessary, right? So that's where making this plan all starts. So a question we get from so many customers out there: do I need a panel upgrade? And so most of the time it's very much an it depends question. It depends. How many gas appliances do you have left in your house? What's your main panel capacity? So there are a lot of questions that go into this. But at the end of the day, if you pick a good partner, it's really easy to map out a journey, right? And so we're looking at pictures of 2 electrical panels here, and you can see they look pretty darn full, right? But having no breaker space left is very different than having no electrical capacity left at the top. Which brings me to my next slide here. So full panel is not the same as no remaining electrical capacity. A 100 amp panel has 24,000 watts. 200 amp has twice that amount. Where it gets tricky is that we need to meet National Electric Code guidelines, right? And so this isn't always all available all the time. We need to be very conservative with our calculations. But trust us when we say there's a whole bunch of capacity out there, even on small 100 amp panels. And so why are we talking about this? What's wrong with just going through and upgrading your panel? You know, a couple notes here, and I'll take a quick aside. We have a whole 1.5 to 2 hour webinar on this particular subject. So I'm kind of crashing a lot of information in here. Feel free to add any questions to the Q&A or contact me after. We're happy to clarify. Electrical service panel upgrade challenges. They're very expensive. It gets very complicated if you need to trench or add extra infrastructure from the utility. If it's near a gas meter, if your electrical panel is near a gas meter, utilities don't like that. And we can flag utility infrastructure and upfront engineering fees if it's flagged for review. So if the utility needs to upgrade a transformer on your block because you're the last one to upgrade to 200 amps, that burden could lie on you as a customer. So we want to try to help you avoid that if possible. Now, one caveat to all this is that safety is always a priority, right? Sometimes going through and spending the money on a panel upgrade from the start is going to be really important, especially if we have an old and worn out panel type, right? So some of the notorious ones with potential safety concerns are listed on the screen here. So won't find a whole bunch of stab lock and pushmatics in this area, but there are certainly a number of Zinskos. You know, Zinsko panels can continue to operate, but we want to inspect them regularly to make sure there's no signs of burning or scarring or red flags. Okay, next quick section, I'm going to talk about ways to stretch your panel capacity without having to upgrade your panel from the start. And then I'll show a quick case study at the end. So we like to call this watt dieting, right? So we have several different choices that we can make with respect to the appliances we put in our home. The earlier in the process we can talk about and plan out your panel, the better. If you've already gone through and you've added your solar, you've added almost all the appliances in your house, and then you want to add something, it's a little harder to plan for it then, but we still have some tricks. So we always want to put in the most power efficient appliances possible, right? So we'll narrow in on this heat pump example. So we could put in a 3-ton heat pump that has backup heat strips. It's a single stage. Even though it's a heat pump, it still has a ton of wattage needed. A more efficient unit that's maybe an inverter type system will use more than, less than half of that, right? So specifying the right equipment is also extremely important. So I'll skip over this. This is just to let folks know typical breaker spaces needed for 240 volt appliances in their home. So this will be in the slides that get handed out. And then a few different scenarios, right? So let's just take an example of the panel I showed earlier. And we want to add a heat pump water heater circuit. They're typically 240 volt, 30 amp circuits. So they do require some space in the panel. Option one is if your panel has sufficient capacity, we can just add a special type of quad breaker potentially, and what we call quad it out, right? So we get 2 240 volt circuits into a small space in the full panel. Option two, we can add this thing called a circuit splitter. A circuit splitter allows you to share one circuit between 2 240 volt appliances. So we might have the dryer here on one leg and the heat pump water heater on another leg. So we need to be mindful of what appliances we're doing this with, but it's a really great solution, especially for EV chargers. Another one that's very similar is circuit pausing, right? So instead of sharing a circuit between two different 240-volt appliances, instead we monitor the capacity that's running through your main panel. And if the panel is ever getting up above 80% of your panel's available capacity, then this switch won't allow that circuit to work. So it's kind of a fail-safe, right? So you could potentially put your new EV charger, heat pump water heater, you name it, on one of these circuit pausing devices. Another option, again, if we have capacity, which we'll figure out by doing an electrical load calc, we can just add a sub panel, give you a lot more space to work with. And two more. Another option is to add a smart panel. So in the case study that I show, there'll be an example of this. A smart panel, some of these have integrated features that will intelligently throttle your uses throughout the house to ensure that you're never going to go into the danger zone above the allotted capacity available. So smart panels are really cool. We like putting in these span panels. And then last option, consider a 120-volt option. Right, so instead of putting in a 30 amp 240-volt appliance that's very power hungry, we can use a 120-volt shared circuit model that's very light on your panel. So rush through that. I know there's a whole lot there, but I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a case study of a house in Davis where we rolled out a lot of these features to help them stay under 100 amps. So I'll go ahead and roll that forward. Hey everyone, Alex Sloan here with Electrify My Home. Really excited to show you guys around today. We're going to do a case study about good electrification, or what some call the Watt diet. So when it comes to electrifying whole houses, it all starts with the electrical panel. So if we have limited incoming capacity at the electrical panel, it's really important that we put out a plan that will allow a homeowner to electrify their whole house. Okay, so this was the original main panel for the house, okay, the main electrical panel. When we walked in, it's almost exactly how it is now, 100 amps of available service from the utility. So we actually came in and thought we might be able to bump that up to 125 amps, but after working with the utility, that wasn't going to work out. The other challenge from a utility perspective is that there was a gas meter standing right here next to the panel, which is a no-no from a utility panel upgrade perspective. And so several challenges, right? And if we needed to trench to get out the existing wire and upgrade the wires so it's capable of holding 200 amps, which is the current standard, that would be extremely costly. So what did we do instead? Instead of going through the utility upgrade process for a panel, we went ahead and made some important and strategic decisions with respect to what appliances we spec'd for the project, what electric appliances we spec'd, as well as putting in this span smart panel. So this span smart panel has a nice sleek design. This is the panel of the future. It is a smart panel. It's going to intelligently assess if your house is ever getting up near 100 amps or whatever you set it to, and from there it will strategically shed certain loads that the customer picks to ensure that the house is never going to be in the danger zone with respect to available capacity on the panel. We've got our Mitsubishi inverter heat pump. So when we're playing the Watt diet, it's really important to prescribe equipment that's going to be as power efficient as possible. This unit, it's a 24,000 BTU unit. We know that's the size because we did a thermal load calc. We don't guess on this stuff. We put in exactly what the house needs. 24,000 BTUs, this only requires a 20 amp breaker, right? So in addition to not taking up much room in the panel from a capacity perspective, it's going to optimize the customer's energy bills for as long as the system's in the house. All right, here we are at the indoor unit for the HVAC system. This is the Mitsubishi multi-position air handler. The outdoor unit powers the indoor unit, so there's no separate circuit required for the air handler. Here we are at the induction range. Induction ranges can be fairly power intensive. This requires a 50 amp circuit. We have a frigid air model, beautiful, works great, and has the controls up here in the back. So lots of great features on this particular unit. So the 120 volt heat pump water heaters, they have just a heat pump mode compared to the traditional 240 volt models, which have a heat pump in addition to a couple of electric resistance elements to boost up and speed up the recovery. So in this case, we wanted to be as power efficient as possible and found that the traditional 240 volt unit just, wasn't necessary. One of the most underrated features of a Watt Diet plan is attic insulation. It's so simple, we just got to do it. By installing attic insulation and bringing it up to code, as well as burying the existing ductwork in attic insulation, which is important in a dry climate, we were able to downsize this HVAC system capacity from 3 tons to 2 tons, alleviating a ton of panel capacity. So that's the nice thing about insulation, is it keeps the house nice and evenly tempered all throughout. Keep that heat inside the house, don't let it escape to the attic. All right, well, Cool Davis, thanks for having us on. My contact information's on the screen here. Feel free to stay in touch, and I'll pass it over to Bill to introduce our next speaker.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Alex. I liked seeing the IR camera and looking at the heat leaking out through the through the recessed can lights. You can see what that is, one leaky spot. Next, we have Danny. And he's with Greiner Heating and Air, and he's going to talk to us about the rebates and incentives that are available now for heat pumps and electrification.
I'm Danny with Greiner Heating, Air, and Electric. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our design specialist, service manager, super technician, Jacob. And Jacob is going to talk to us about rebates, and more rebates. Jacob, tell them what you got for them.
Andy, you actually forgot rebates, and rebates.
That's 4 rebates.
4 rebates today.
Well, tell us all about them.
So we'll talk about the different types of rebates that are out there.
Okay.
The most important thing is, as long as you're replacing your old fossil fuel gas-fired furnace, you're going to be eligible for a lot of these rebates.
So you're going to replace that old fossil fuel gas-fired furnace with what?
A Energy Star high efficiency heat pump.
Energy Star rated. So like one of these bad boys right here.
Just like one of those.
And from what I know, Jacob, the Energy Star rated, that's the good stuff that people would want anyway.
They make it pretty easy. Who doesn't want the Energy Star rated good stuff?
Absolutely.
Right.
It generally means it costs you less to run, right?
That's it.
Yeah, let's be fair. That's what we're all looking for. Save a few dollars.
Yeah.
So tell us about these rebates. You said there's 4 of them.
Yep.
Can you go over those 4 rebates and just let the people know what they are, what it takes to qualify for them? I'm sure not everyone's going to qualify. It's probably super duper hard. So you're here to help us.
Pretty easy. As long as you live in Solano, Yolo, or Sacramento County, you got a good chance at these rebates. So
Wow.
First one, it's going to be the federal tax credit.
The
federal tax credit.
Oh, that's awesome. So we get some money back from the feds.
Finally.
How does that one work? What's the catch?
No catch with that one, Danny.
How much?
As $2,000.
Whoo! You guys hear that? $2,000 for the federal tax credit. Okay, what do we do?
So as long as it's like we talked about, the high efficiency
Energy
Star rated heat pump,
Star
heat pump, your $2,000 is waiting for you.
$2,000. That sounds great. And you said there were 4, so that's just the first one.
We're one down.
What's the next one?
Next is going to be the Tech Clean California.
Tech Clean California.
Yep.
That's
Mouthful.
a big name. That's a mouthful. Okay, what's this one?
So that one, same rules as the federal tax credit.
Same rules. So those rules.
$1,500.
Another $1,500. Wow. And it has to be a heat pump. Has to be Energy Star rated.
You got it.
We have to be replacing an old fossil fuel dinosaur furnace.
That you don't want anyways.
You don't want it anyway.
Right.
Okay, so this is adding up quick. Okay, that's only 2. Tell me about the third one.
Let's do the SMUD rebate. So as long as you're living in Sacramento County.
Okay, that's the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. So
Got it.
so you folks out there that are in Sacramento,
It is $3,000.
What?
We're going
Another
higher and higher.
three? This is crazy. Okay, so there's got to be a big catch on that one.
They make it easy.
What do you have to do?
Same rules.
Energy Star rated, heat pump, replace the old dinosaur furnace.
That's it. What everybody is doing anyways, and they're giving you money for it.
They're giving you money to do what you want to do anyway. That is amazing. So that was only 3 of 4.
Last one's a good one.
All right, tell me about this last one.
All right.
I got my other calculator out here. We're gonna try to get this all together. What is it?
All right. It's called HEEHRA.
She-Ra?
Close.
He-Man.
Oh. HEEHRA.
HEEHRA. Okay, HEEHRA. Tell me about this HEEHRA.
All right. So we had 2,000.
Sounds like the hero.
That
Here is
is
the
a
hero.
hero.
Here is the hero. Tell me about the hero.
All right.
Jack.
That one is up to $8,000.
That's a lot of cheddar. $8,000. What's the catch on that one, Jacob?
So the only catch with this one, it is income based.
I knew it. So they have to make like $1 million a year to qualify for $8,000.
Quite the opposite.
Okay.
So,
So I'm listening.
all right.
We're listening.
So I'll give you an example here, Danny.
Okay.
So, for example, if you're a family of 4
Family of 4,
living in Solano County,
Solano County.
and you made under $92,250 on your tax return last year,
Okay, 92,250.
you get $8,000.
Okay, but I know. What if I made more than that? Because a lot of people make more than that. They're
Absolutely.
definitely that's going to help a lot of people, but a lot of people make a little more than that.
Which is totally fine.
Yeah.
So if you made between $92,250 and $172,950,
172. $172,950. Okay, so that's the cap.
Yep.
How much do I get?
you get $4,000 still.
$4,000. Hold on a
right.
second. Let me see here. I got the big calculator. Let me see if I can add all that
Look
up.
at here.
Wait, this
You
let
got
me-
2,000.
This is a lot. You know what? Yeah, 2,000. We had
1,500,
1,500,
3,000,
3,000.
and 8,000.
That is over $14,000. Jeez. Okay, so I gotta ask you this, Jacob, and I'm sure everybody wants to know. This is a lot of numbers, as you can see.
Absolutely.
There's got to be a mountain of paperwork to take care of all those numbers.
And there is a mountain of paperwork. Danny.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. All right.
It's nothing that you have to do, Danny.
What?
As long as you're with a reputable contractor, the contractor will take care of all of that paperwork for you.
So you're telling me contractors like Greiner, Heating, Air, and Electric, they do all of the paperwork?
Absolutely. They take care of everything and they make sure that you get your rebates.
So all I got to do is buy an Energy Star rated heat pump, get rid of that old fossil fuel fired loud thing in my attic, and I can get 14 grand.
It's as easy as that.
It's as easy as that. You heard it here, folks. Jacob from Greiner Heating, Air, and Electric let you know it's as easy as that. So give a call today, talk to Greiner, talk to your trusted contractor, and ask them about all of the rebates they have going on today.
Well, hello everybody. My name's Danny with Greiner Heating, Air, and Electric. I hope you enjoyed me conjuring Billy Mays there for a little bit of fun about a, pretty intense topic. I do want to thank Alex Sloan from Electrify My Home. That was a wonderful presentation. Definitely cool to see those houses go from, old fossil fuel type houses to very efficient all electric homes. It's really, really cool. And also Kristin's presentation was awesome. Definitely make a plan for what you're going to do. Try to do these things while you can and not when you have to. So some great presentations there. So we're just going to recap this real quick: rebates, and tax credits. So it's actually up to $14,500 in rebates and tax credits that are currently available. The largest of those rebates is the HEEHRA rebate. That one's $4,000 to $8,000. It is dependent on income, and there is a limit to those funds. So we don't know when they're going to run out. It just depends on how fast people take them. The Tech Clean California rebate is a $1,500 rebate, also a limit on those funds. If you are in the Sacramento area, there is a SMUD rebate, $500 to $3,000, depending on the system type. And then the one of those that is not actually a rebate, it's actually a federal tax credit. It's $2,000 for going with an energy efficient heat pump system. System qualifications do apply to all the rebates. Really, the biggest thing to look at is it Energy Star rated. And when you're looking for the Energy Star rated heat pump systems, it's really going to be the top of the line systems, maybe the top 2 offerings from that manufacturer, depending on the manufacturer. Let's talk about the tax credit a little bit. Those can get a little confusing to people. So it's a dollar for dollar federal tax credit for qualifying heat pump HVAC systems and also heat pump water heaters. So you could use that for a water heater instead. You can only get one of those tax credits per tax year. So if you're going to comes to making a plan. So if you're going to do a heat pump water heater and a heat pump HVAC system, might be smart to do one year and one the next. You do have to have a tax liability of at least $2,000 to qualify. If your tax liability is lower than that, it can be rolled over to future years. And this does get confusing for some people. A tax liability just means that you have paid or must pay federal taxes. It doesn't mean that you owe money at the end of the year. If you're a W-2 employee, mostly you're paying those taxes out of every check, but that was a tax liability you had for that year. There are some other federal tax credits available for other energy efficiency improvements, such as insulation, air sealing your house, and energy audits. This federal tax credit program is set to end in 2032. Obviously, there's always changes to those things. We never know what the government's going to do, but that's what we're looking at right now. And I do want to clarify, I'm not a tax professional. If you have questions about your personal taxes, please talk to your tax professional. Heat pump water heater rebates. This is something that was really big last year, and they just became available again this year, actually on the 10th of this month. So pretty cool. You guys can get rebates on those again. The rebate for Northern California went down a little bit from what it was last year, but it's still pretty favorable. It's $1,100 up to $4,200. So the $1,100 is for pretty much any qualifying heat pump water heater. If it's 55 gallons or a lot larger, it adds another $700. And then you can get an additional up to $2,000 for electrical panel upgrades or electrical needs for that heat pump water heater. And then there's also a $1,500 additional rebate for low global warming potential heat pump water heaters. There's not many of those on the market now, but there are a few. And then how do you pay for all of this? So there is a really good financing program. A lot of our clients are using and most contractors are a part of, called Go Green Financing. This is subsidized by the state of California. It's implemented through local banks and credit unions. The big one around us is Travis Credit Union. The interest rates on those are between 5.49 and 10.49. The interest does vary a little bit based on your credit rating and also the term of the loan. There is no down payment necessary for this, which is really cool. You can just get started right away without coming out of pocket. The terms are up to 15 years, so it's capped at 1 year per $1,000 borrowed. So if it's a $10,000 project, it would only be 10 years. There is no penalty for paying it off early. If you are using Travis Credit Union, they have a really good program where the loan can be re-amortized twice during the life of the loan. So if you're waiting for some of those rebates, you can get those rebates in, go to the bank, make a big payment, and then have a lower monthly payment. And I just put an example up here. A $15,000 loan at 6.49% for 15 years would be $130 a month. So I hope that was some good information for you all. Thank you very much for taking your Saturday to come learn about Cool Davis and energy efficiency improvements.
Thanks, Danny. So lastly, we'd like to have Sierra Huffman from Valley Clean Energy, who's our Yolo County's community choice aggregator, talk and give her presentation. Sierra?
Thanks, Bill. And yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for inviting me to come join your presentation today or your webinar. Okay. So, I mean, you guys know if you can't hear me, you can't see the screen, but I'm Sierra Huffman with Valley Clean Energy, and I'll be talking to you today about VCE's Electric Advisor Service. I'm the Programs and Community Engagement here at Valley Clean Energy. So our Electric Advisor Service is a program that we're offering, and I'm excited to tell you about it today. All right. So a little bit, what I'll be presenting on, we'll just go over quickly who is Valley Clean Energy in case you aren't familiar with who we are and what we do. Talking about our program, the Electric Advisor, and how it can help you, especially with all the information that you've heard already today. How you can use and contact VCE's Electric Advisor, and then resources. We'll kind of end with some resources that you can use at home. And so hopefully you can get started on your electrification journey right after this webinar. All right, so who is Valley Clean Energy? So we serve, our service territory is in Yolo County. So we are the official electricity provider. So what we do is we generate electricity, and then PG&E delivers it to you. So we meet your needs with the energy that we're producing on your behalf. And that's for Woodland, Winters, Davis, and unincorporated Yolo County. We're a not-for-profit, so that means that we're working for our customers. So any money that we make is getting reinvested back into the community. Because PG&E also services this area, you have multiple options. So our goal is to provide cleaner electricity at a lower cost in comparison to PG&E. Right now, we do have a discount, but we're increasing that discount at the start of next year. So it's going to be 10% for care, fare, and medical baseline. And then all other customers will be receiving at least a 5% discount on their electricity in comparison to PG&E. So we're excited about that. So something to look forward to start of next year. All right, so our Electric Advisor Service, if you're asking yourself, that's probably why you came to this webinar today. If you're asking yourself any of these questions that are going through your mind, like what are the benefits of electrification, the health, the safety, climate, the savings to your wallet, where do you start in your project when you're looking at your home? What current technology or options are out there? What rebates or incentives are applicable to you in your situation? How can you find a contractor, and how do you compare those quotes? And what electrical infrastructure do you even have in your home? Do you know how many amps your service panel uses? So if you're asking yourself any of these questions, this is where VCE's Electric Advisor can help. All right, so what is it and what can it do for you? So the Electric Advisor is a new program that we just launched at the start of last month. And so it is a service that connects you with a professional with a one-on-one communication, whether that's by phone or by email. Or chat, and it can help you answer some of your questions. So what it does is can give you anything from starting from general guidance to actually referrals to programs, helping you fill out rebates and incentives. What I'm kind of excited about too, and you may be as you walk through this webinar, is that we also provide virtual energy audits. So you can have an energy specialist on the phone with you, looking at your home through the camera, and then kind of providing some analysis for you too about the electricity you're using, the type of appliances you have, electrical infrastructure you have in your home. So it really gets kind of some, not boots on the ground inside your home, but folks actually going through and reviewing your material with you. All right. So, who are going to be these energy professionals that will be supporting you, or who you're actually going to be talking to? So when you first contact Electric Advisor, who you'll be talking to is just sort of our energy advisors. That's where you'll start. They handle sort of the general inquiries. They discuss electric technologies with you. They can get a little bit into the details of certain programs or incentives. So a general knowledge, but they have a lot of industry knowledge in these areas. Now, if you find that you are starting to ask some deeper questions, you want actual what we're calling a roadmap to how you can go all electric, something that's really specifically tailored to you and your home, that's when you'll be moved on to an energy specialist. And so they have that real technical expertise. They can help conduct those virtual energy audits. They can start providing recommendations for you and your situation. And then the ultimate the goal is to create this Go Electric roadmap. So it is a plan for you and your home. And we'll go through what that looks like a little bit later in the presentation. If you have like a kind of a tricky situation, something really unique or challenging in your home, you can also, they'll also start including the help of an energy expert. So that's someone who has, specific field knowledge of, what you need, and they can help tailor and refine that Go Electric roadmap for you. Okay, so this is what your customer journey will look like if you use the Electric Advisor. So you'll probably start at our website, checking out our Electric Advisor webpage, and then you'll be offered a couple different ways to contact Electric Advisor. It'll be either, you can make a phone call or a video chat directly to the number that is provided. There'll be also a live online chat, so you can just start typing away with a person as soon as you get onto that webpage. Or you can do a web form where you pull up the web form, you enter your information, maybe a couple of questions about what you're interested in, and then a way and time for someone to contact you. So you can get a call back at a specific time of day too. All right, and after you go through those steps, kind of the end goal is that Go Electric roadmap, so how you can go electric in your home. Okay, let's see, I think the last page is resources. So this is when we're going to move to what this this Go Electric roadmap actually looks like. So this is our template, and this is going to be provided to you in the resources page, something that you can check out and see if this is something that you're interested in doing. Well, you call into our service, and when you first get started, those collect some basic customer information from you. So where do you live? Are you a VC customer? So that is, I guess I should say that this service, Electric Advisor, is free to any of our customers, but that does come with you have to live and reside in Yolo County, and then be receiving electricity from Valley Clean Energy. If you meet those requirements, yeah, you're our customer, and this is a free service, and you can call in at any time and start this process. So after they get that information from you, one thing I'll note out too is important is your rate category, and we'll find out why it's a little bit important too, but that's your rate schedule. So or you're on a time of use rate, or maybe you have an electric vehicle and you're an EV rate, but we'll collect that information as well. There'll also be some general home information. So when was your home built? Do you have a garage? Do you have an electric vehicle or a solar panel or battery? So this is sort of the basic home assessment that's going to sort of, all this information will roll into the next bit that we'll see. One important piece I want to point out at the bottom, so when you're talking to this energy advisor, so they're really going to be interested in your interests. So our customer here, John Smith, what he was interested in is the use of clean and renewable energy to power your home. So you want your home to be efficient, you want to reduce your carbon footprint, you really care about the climate, and that was this customer's main goal. So yours may be different. Maybe you want to reduce your energy uses as much as possible to try to save money. So this information is going to be used to create the recommendations that you'll see later on, is what you value and what you want to get out of this. All right, so this is the juicy part. The part that I'm excited about, and the part I'm assuming the Make-A Plan folks at Cole Davis will be excited about as well. So this is your plan. This is tailored to you, the information of your home, what you value, and then they came up with a recommendation. So you can see here the far left-hand column in existing. So that's going to be all the technology that exists in your home, what it uses, whether it's gas or electric, what amp is your main panel, and how many, those 240-volt circuits do you have. So after they collect your existing information, they'll go to the Go Electric recommendation. So what do they recommend? So if we focus, let's say, on the hot water heater. So currently, John Smith has a gas water heater. So they're recommending they go to a heat pump water heater from 65 to 80 gallons. I think that's based on the fact that there was 2 occupants in their home. If you go over here to priority, it'll also rank kind of what should be done first. This probably looks familiar to that inverted pyramid that you saw at the beginning of this presentation, where they're focusing on sort of the infrastructure first, and then kind of the larger, more energy intensive appliances, replacing them. It's also based on the money that is available at the time. So if you look at the hot water heater, well, they are saying to pursue the second after upgrading your panel. The estimated cost after your incentives are down to zero. So I think they're really hoping that you take advantage of the incentive and rebates that are out right now to replace that hot water heater. We could, yeah, let's touch on the estimated costs. I think that will be a big part of it. So you can see here, they're saying that putting in a heat pump water heater will cost about $7,500, but after incentives, it's going to drop down to zero. There's a learn more column, which will just give you a little bit more information on these specific technologies. So if you want to just learn about your appliances, a little bit more about hot water heaters, you can go here and find some information. But let's follow the zero and see where they're coming to the zero cost. So after it gives you your recommendations and the priority of how you should go about kind of attacking your home electrification project, this next page will go into the rebates and incentives, a little bit on contractors. So for that heat pump water heater that we saw above, you also heard in the last presentation that there's Tech Clean California. So these Tech Clean California are providing rebates for heat pump water heaters, and you can get up to $7,300 for that. Some of these caveats or more detailed information is that you must use a tech enrolled contractor. So there's some instructions and some contractor information here in this far column. But yeah, $7,300. If you scroll a little bit farther, we get these Golden State rebates, which are available for customers within PG&E service territory. So that's anyone here in Yolo County. And they're providing up to a $900 rebate for a heat pump water heater. So that together, you can see how they took that $7,500 and they got down to zero. So it'll really help you sort of understand how they're getting these dollar values here is the rebates and incentives that are being applied. There's also federal tax credits. So just something to keep in mind, based on the income and what you're making, that these federal tax credits may also help you reduce those costs as well. Okay, the last page of your Go Electric roadmap is just going to be some extra information. So this will be, how do you operate specific technologies? Let's say your heat pump water heater, what are the savings calculations? So like switching from gas to electric, what effect may it have on your energy bill? So there will be some calculators in here. Also a little bit more information on just how to go be more energy efficient. So let's say you're putting in that heat pump water heater. Maybe you want to reduce the water usage throughout the rest of your home. So you want to use low flow shower heads and try to make your water usage as much as energy efficient as you can too. There'll be some information on that. And then one thing, just because, I work in electric utilities, so this is something I want to mention as well, is that not only do you want to have the right appliances in your home and be pursuing the right goals, being on the right rate schedule can make a big difference too. So as you move to more electric appliances, especially these big ones like swapping out your heat pump water heater, a different rates, going from that time of use rate that's probably standard for most of our residential customers to something like an e-elect rate could make a big difference, because these rates are specifically designed for high energy users so that you don't have a large electricity bill. It's designed to, you can avoid sort of these more expensive hours, and you have lower hours, less expensive hours throughout the rest of the day, and then that little bit of a base price too, which will help reduce that overall kilowatt hour charge. And a little bit of information too, if you have an EV, that being on EV rate will probably produce some savings for you as well, depending on how you charge it. So we recommend checking out some of this rate information. And that's it. It's going to just end with any photographs that you sent in to our energy specialists, information on your home. And that will be probably, if you go through this process, very similar to what your Go Electric roadmap will look like. Okay, switch back to my presentation. So just end. So these are some of the resources. We've got VC's website. We've got our Go Electric Advisor webpage to check out. And that'll be the phone number and the forms that you can fill out to contact us. And just want to say thank you and happy holidays. And anyone, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. You can send an email direct, and that'll be at sierrahuffman@valleycleanenergy.org.
Thanks, Sierra. So we have a little bit of time left, but we did have some questions that I wanted to, that more are coming in. But early one that came up was from Maria Godoy. She says, my only concern about going fully electric has to be with the resilience of the system. What do we do when there are power shortages? And that's a good question, Maria. One thing to note is that most of the new gas, water heating, and space heating appliances also require electricity, so they are also subject to those issues with when the power goes out. But one way to really a great way to address resiliency is to install a battery system along with rooftop solar, which then can provide battery backup if there is a power outage. There are also new induction cooktops that are coming on the market soon, or have just started entering the market, that have a little battery backup that can help. Does anybody else on the panel have anything to add to that question?
I think what you said is really important to remember. Most of your gas furnaces are going to require electricity anyway. This does come up with heat pump water heaters, as a lot of water heaters don't require electricity. There are small batteries you can get to sometimes back those up. But if you're looking at solar and battery, that's the best way to protect against power outages anyway.
Yeah, and I'll also add that, I mean, power outages do happen. They are frustrating. Luckily here in Davis, we're pretty well shielded most of the time. We do get outages from time to time. They tend to be pretty temporary. So, I mean, that's not to excuse the absence of certain electric appliances when the power goes down. You know, but when the power goes down, I get out my camping stove. You know, there are some alternatives as well, right? There are lots of creative solutions where we can still get off of gas and have all the luxuries we need.
Great, thanks. Another question came up from Tina. She said, do the rebates still apply if we already got rid of our central heat? Greiner installed a couple of heat pumps for us some years ago, and another one would be nice. I guess what I'm unclear about, yeah.
Yeah, I can answer that one.
Okay.
The federal tax credit you can definitely get. Most of the rebates you would not qualify for, but because it does require pulling out an old gas system. But the federal tax credit does not have that requirement, so you would qualify for that.
Yeah, and if you are, if you have, I guess one question I had is if somebody replaced one of their systems with a heat pump, but had another one that was still a gas furnace, and replaced another one, that would still, if they had two systems, that would still qualify. But
yes, it would.
The rebates are not, they don't work for systems that have already been installed. So there was another question about somebody had, Robin Waxman said she had a natural gas stove as her only heat source. Alex, I think you answered this online on the chat, but will replacing this count for the rebates? And if the gas stove, I'm thinking it's a gas insert or something, is the primary source of the heating, that would qualify, correct?
There's a huge rebate from I'm sure someone on here knows, it's YAQSMD. I'm sure somebody knows what that means. It's a yellow air quality something board, and that's like a $10,000 rebate. It does have some qualifications on that, being a certain age, not meeting certain requirements, but that's a rebate that actually stacks on top of other rebates. So Robin may qualify for some really, really large things that would quite possibly take care of the cost of the entire installation.
That's the air quality district, the Yolo Solano air quality district. And we can provide a link to that after when we send everything else.
And I know Electrify My Home's a qualified contractor through them, and Greiner's also a qualified contractor. So yeah, definitely look into that, Robin.
Rita Hosking had a question about, have you found resistance to, I like that, resistance to electrification, not electric resistance, but resistance to electrification in your PG&E clients because of PG&E's significant rate increases. I have my opinions. I mean, I know that natural gas rates have also gone up quite a bit, and heat pumps, by getting a very efficient heat pump that's variable capacity and variable speed, can keep those energy costs way down. But I'm interested to hear from Danny and Alex as well.
Yeah, I'll go first and Alex can go. Definitely a high efficiency heat pump system will cost less to operate than a traditional gas furnace. But the key word there is high efficiency or Energy Star. If you went for a very basic heat pump, you would then probably be looking at paying more to heat your home. As far as a heat pump water heater, if you look at average usage, average utility rates for PG&E for both gas and electric, I just did this for somebody recently. It was about $80 less a year to operate the heat pump water heater than a standard gas water heater. So to Bill's point, yes, electric rates have gone up significantly, but so have gas rates, and actually over the last year or two at a higher increase than the electric rates. Go ahead, Alex, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, those were both really good points and well put. There's always it depends in some of these things as well, right? So everyone's situation is a little bit different. There's this thing in behavioral science called the rebound effect. And so we also find that sometimes when we put a brand new appliance in someone's house and they never use the old one, they might use that all the time. And if you end up using your heat pump like you did your old furnace, and you just crank that on at 5 p.m. when energy rates are at the highest, you may not find that you're getting savings even with the most efficient equipment, right? So there's a behavioral and training aspect as well as a quality installation aspect to this as well. But if you go through, you make a plan, you do some of the things that Kristin taught us earlier, you're going to have the best chance of saving long-term through these projects, regardless of what PG&E is doing. Also, it's going to go up on both ends.
What should also be pointed out is that by switching to a heat pump, if you do have solar, or if you're planning on installing solar on your roof, that solar can help offset those energy use of those appliances where it won't if it's a gas appliance.
So. And one more quick thing to add to that, Bill, is, when we are talking about switching to a high efficiency heat pump, we're also changing the air conditioner. And a lot of times we're doubling the efficiency of the air conditioner. So we're saving all kinds of money in the summertime, which then translate to overall end of year savings.
Right. So we're at 11:30. If there's still some questions, I'd like to keep going a little bit longer here because we started a little bit late, but we should be aware of our time. There was one more question I saw where, and this is for Danny and Alex, but how much would a contractor charge in a range for an in-home energy audit, and what method would he or she use?
Alex, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you probably want to contact us with your specific scenario, right? I mean, we don't typically do comprehensive audits at our company, just because to charge enough to do it, it's a bit prohibitive. When we do it, we usually refund the cost of half of your energy audit. For a good energy audit, you're going to want someone to come through, and they're going to want to spend probably 5 hours in your house. If you want it to be done comprehensively, to do all the testing necessary, which means we need to charge for about 5 hours of our time, plus report time in the office. So for a good audit, you're probably looking at, $800 to $2,000. Again, we don't do that very often. because of that reason, unless we are already engaged in a contract.
I think Alex's company probably does something similar to what we do at Greiner. We offer a clipboard audit at no charge if you're part of this, or in most cases in general. And the clipboard audit is basically just that initial meeting at your house where we're walking through, we're looking at things, we're maybe making some really obvious to us recommendations at the beginning. And then from there can determine, how much deeper we need to go. Standard energy audit for us with blower door testing and infrared testing, might be between $500 and $700. But like Alex said, if there's some really crazy wild stuff, it can get higher than that. And we would use the BPI Building Performance Institute standards for that energy audit. But like I said, it would be best to just start with a clipboard audit. Sometimes people need to go a lot further than that. And sometimes, it's really, really obvious what your home needs, and we can very quickly assess it without actually having to charge you for it. So every home is different. The start of it is to call a trusted contractor like Greiner or Electrify My Home, or if there's another contractor you trust.
Part of that
There are
question,
also third party. Yeah, go ahead, Kristin.
Yep. Part of the question goes on to ask if there's a particular methodology required by future ERRO rebate programs. Do we have any intel on that?
Right now, there is none. There are some combustion safety testing required by some of the rebate programs, depending on the home. But currently, there's not. That changes all the time, and those discussions are ongoing.
Yeah, if you want to be safe, go with someone who's BPI certified, like Greiner, Electrify My Home. There's really only a handful of others out there who have retained their BPI certifications. So that's a good, robust strategy that you can rest on.
Yeah, getting your, if you're replacing if you're getting your central ducted system replaced, it's required to have duct testing done, duct leakage testing done. So the contractor like Electrify My Home or Greiner will be doing that. I also recommend if it's an older home, find somebody who could do a blower door. And maybe I don't know if Valley Clean Energy has a list of like HERS raters that can provide those performance contractors that maybe can come out. I know you could contact Cool Davis. They have a list of some.
I would also point folks to the switches on. There's a resource for finding basically a resource for finding anyone who serves your service territory, whether it be contractors or HERS raters. They've been a really reliable. We don't have anything specifically on our website because we're a local government that will promote any particular business.
John had some great questions on whether or not he can use his existing air handler with his furnace if he switches to a heat pump, and also pros and cons for ducted heat pumps versus mini splits. And there was also a question about maintenance. Can you guys address any of those?
Yeah. So you can use your existing furnace and keep that and create what's called a dual fuel system, but it's very hard to get that system to qualify for any of these rebates. If the furnace was like really new and we could get what's called an AHRI matchup between that and an example, we had somebody recently who had a furnace that was only 2 years old. We were able to match everything up and get an Energy Star rating, and they did qualify for a lot of the rebates. But in most cases, you'd be missing most of the rebates, and that gas furnace would only be allowed to be used as backup heat. Yeah, so it would be case dependent, but in most cases, no. And then as far as maintenance, there is actually less maintenance for a heat pump system than a gas furnace. Basically, you're doing the same maintenance as you do for an air conditioner. Sometimes you might want to do it twice a year now, but you're doing the same maintenance. There's no gas burners. There's no combustion fan motors. There's a lot of parts and pieces that now don't exist when you go to a heat pump system.
And mini split versus ducted heat pump?
Case dependent, home dependent. There's mini splits, there's ducted mini splits, there's regular central systems. And really, you should be looking at your house and your use case to find the one that's right for you.
Right. And sometimes that involves a combination of both, right? So
Yep.
Very dependent. Yeah, we could both go on and on and on about this because it's very case dependent. I like ducted systems because you can put a really good filter on them, good air quality, and you can put in really small systems. By small, I mean small capacity, small size to treat the whole house. And then every time you're putting in a mini split with heads, if you're putting 4 heads in a house, each has 4 points of refrigerant connection. And I mean, we're pretty good with our flaring, but that's 4 possible points of failure where refrigerant can leak out and has awful global warming potential. So ducted systems and central systems can simplify that a bit.
Okay, are there any other questions that anybody's caught on that I might have missed in the chat?
There was a question about asking to explain how VCE can provide 100% renewable electricity.
Okay, good.
So if the person who asked that question wants, because I saw it in the chat, wants to kind of clarify what they're trying to get at, because I don't quite understand the question, but I guess what we do is we provide kind of like a standard electricity product to most customers called standard green, and so that's going to be 8% of renewable energy is going to be in that mix. And so we source our energy. We have a map of it on our website, but it comes from Kern County, Yolo County, sort of all throughout California, maybe some imports from Nevada, and that'll be a lot of solar and wind. We have some battery storage, some hydro that's in there as well, and then there will be, of course, electricity that we need to purchase sort of from what's called the California grid. So that's considered brown energy, and we're not sure where it comes from. It's considered that's why they call it brown. It could have a mix of both dirty and clean energy, but it's not from a tracked source. And so that's kind of what we use to sort of fill these gaps when we're trying to meet the needs of our customers. We do report on the percentage of our electricity annually. So that's something you can find on our website. And then it'll be a mailer that our customers will receive in the mail soon called the Power Content Label. So that'll be mailed out here in December. But if you want to, you can opt up to something we call ultra green. And so what that means is we know how much electricity that you're using every month and consuming. So on your behalf, to meet your needs, we're making sure that we're covering all those energy requirements that you have with 100% renewable electricity, meaning it's coming from wind and it's coming from solar. So that you can know that you're investing that money in something that you believe in and something you support, which is a clean renewable energy. And because of that money that we're sort of putting into those resources, it's making sure that their new resources are getting built so that more clean and renewable energy is coming online and steel is actually going into the ground. And that those projects are actually continually getting funded and being built. So yeah, but if there's any more specific question on that one, do let me know.
Sierra, could you just follow with the goal that BCE has set for 100% renewable?
Yes. So we are planning, so we do, okay, so we are moving towards a goal of 100% renewable energy. And we are actually, I think, we're looking at it in 3-year increments. So basically we have to have what's called a renewable portfolio standard, and it measures how much renewable energy is in our portfolio in these kind of 3-year chunks. And so we can kind of go back and forth on how renewable we are every year, but right now I think we're sitting around the 80% mark, and we're moving to being 100% renewable by 2030. So that's we may even get there sooner. So that's the good news as we move towards that goal. But yes, so I think we're seeing about 80% renewable for this year. But if you're looking at it in that kind of 3-year chunk, because we were a little bit less renewable the years before, I think we're sitting in that RPS period about 50% right now. And that's all being met with our specific projects. So we're not just purchasing renewable, we're not purchasing renewable energy credits, but actually covering that energy usage with wind and solar projects.
So Sierra, a question just came in from John Johnson. Will VCE be able to offer a rebate like the SMUD rebate in the foreseeable future?
If that's a rebate for like a specific, for somebody who's purchasing a heat pump and wants kind of like a reduced cost, is that what you're asking specifically for?
Well, I think it is that, SMUD has larger rebates than what's available in PG&E territory. So I don't know if there's any plan, if of VCE being able to kind of build off of those rebates.
Unfortunately, right now for your home, I think we're just relying on the rebates that are kind of existing in California, like Tech Clean California, and like a lot of what you heard from the Greiner presentation. So I think our mission right now is just mostly on education. So getting you the tools you need to understand what you should pursue in electrification and what it's all about. And so that electric advisor service. There will be rebates that we'll be getting out to the public soon on electric vehicles. The good news is the electric vehicle rebates, they also include charging equipment, and they will include an amount of money for a panel upgrade as well. So there'll be some kind of home upgrades that you use for your electrification plan, but those will mostly be for electric vehicles. And that'll be coming out the first quarter of next year.
Hey, Bill, there was one question I'd like to address real quick that I think was really important. There's a question there about the pros and cons of upgrading your duct system when you change the system. Alex addressed it in the chat, and I thought his answer was good. It is kind of dependent, but I do want to remind people that at least looking at your duct system is bare minimum. If you have anybody coming out that's just changing the boxes and not doing anything with that duct system, I would be asking questions about that. Most heating and air systems run at about 65% of their rated capacity due to poor duct systems. It doesn't always mean you need to change everything. Sometimes just some modifications and upgrades can make things a lot better. If you wanted things perfect, you would have to change everything, but sometimes the cost benefit's not there. But just some modifications can make a huge difference. So make sure they are looking at your duct system.
Thanks, Danny. So we are at 11:45. I think we should wrap up here. I wanted to thank everyone and all of our presenters, Alex, Danny, Sierra, and Kristin. We also ask, if you have a chance, there's a QR code here, take the post workshop survey. Tell us how you did. Let us know what you thought. And we, again, as I said before, and as was said before, we will have the recording of this presentation, which will be available for you to look at, as well as the presentation slides will be available. Anything else, Brandon? Oh, again, this will be provided to you, but we have, Cool Davis has a slew of resources. And as you saw from Sierra's slides, they have a lot of resources too. So we encourage you to check those out. And want to thank everybody for participating today and taking the time, taking your Saturday with us.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.